Do you know what the real difference is between an older woman who wins over a younger man and one whom he considers just as a mother figure? It's not what you think. It's not about age, it's not about appearances, and it's not about money. It's something more subtle, something that many women get wrong without ever realizing it. If you've ever felt attracted to a younger man and realized that the atmosphere changes the instant he finds out about your age, or if you've been in an uncomfortable situation in which you felt the need to justify yourself or make up for anything, this video will entirely change your viewpoint. Because what I am about to reveal goes against everything you've ever heard about relationships with a significant age gap. After seeing many cases and evaluating what actually works, I discovered that women who succeed in building these relationships do exactly the opposite of what is usually advised. And the difference is so evident that once you watch this video to the end, you will understand exactly why some attempts work while others develop into terrible memories you would rather forget. The reality is that there's a very exact behavioral pattern that repels younger guys, and the issue is not age, it's hidden messages that most women unconsciously send out. Messages that call out insecurity, the need for validation, or a desperate desire to prove something. But before you believe this is just another superficial strategy on how to look younger or behave a particular way, let me share something I've learned from seeing women who truly flourish in these kinds of relationships. They don't compete with youth. They offer something totally different, something a young lady simply can't offer. Imagine for a moment that you're a 47-year-old lady, divorced, with grown-up children who is enjoying time for herself. You meet a 31-year-old man at a social event. You feel immediate chemistry, but as soon as the conversation goes personal, something shifts. He remains friendly, but the initial spark starts to disappear. What happened? In many cases, it's not the age gap that affects the dynamic, but the way the woman reacts the moment she becomes aware of it. She could start making self-deprecating comments concerning her age or start treating him differently, protectively. Or perhaps she changes into impress mode and won't stop boasting about the achievements and dependability. Do you know what the first thing an older woman simply does wrong when she likes a younger guy? She becomes his caretaker. She begins to treat him like a son, giving unsolicited advice, protecting him from circumstances he can handle himself, being excessively helpful, or worrying about matters that are not important to him at all. Here's what nobody tells you: if you do that, you ignite his instinct to be a son, not a lover. A younger guy who wants a relationship with an older woman isn't looking for another mother, he already has one. He's seeking an equal partner, a person with whom he can have an adult relationship with plenty of depth and passion. Now imagine that you're him. Would you be attracted to a person who always treats you like you're hopeless, like you need care and security? Attraction comes from mutual respect, admiration, and the notion that you are equals, not from having a mentor. Let me tell you about Elizabeth, a 47-year-old lady who spent thousands of dollars on cosmetic treatments to look younger. She got Botox, fillers, and pricey facials and bought outfits that 20-year-old women should wear. When she met Jacob, a 33-year-old guy, she was confident that her new style would attract him. But something unusual happened. Jacob was nice but distant. Later on, as Elizabeth reflected on the situation, she discovered she had lost her authenticity in the process. She was so anxious about looking young that she forgot to be herself. Her personality, her natural vitality, and her real presence had all been hidden behind a mask of artificial youth. Here's something most women don't understand: trying to impress him with professional achievement or wealth might backfire. Yes, it's fantastic that you're successful and self-contained and that you've built something significant in your life. But when you make that the core of your presentation, when you always talk about your profession, your wealth, or your vacations, you're concentrating on the wrong thing. Attraction isn't founded on resumes, it's founded on an emotional connection, on the sensation that life gets more exciting with this individual. Your accomplishments may attract respect, but not necessarily love. Think about it from his point of view: if each discussion evolves into a display of your professional accomplishment, how is he going to feel? Maybe like he's at a job interview, not a romantic date. And if you always highlight your wealth, what kind of message are you sending him? That your value lies in what you have, not in who you are. Do you know one of the most subtle yet terrible mistakes? An excessive availability, answering messages at any hour, canceling your plans just to be with him, always being free when he is, always complimenting him, and indicating that your existence revolves around his attention. This may appear like love or real desire, but what he perceives is lack, and lack is never attractive, regardless of how old you are. The woman who has her own pattern, who has her own interests, who is available but not desperate, who decides to be there rather than needing to be there, that woman brings about both respect and desire. Imagine if each moment he texts you, you respond immediately. Each moment he suggests anything, you agree without any consideration. Each moment he says anything, you turn it into praises. How is he going to feel? Maybe overwhelmed and, sincerely, a bit bored. Because where's the challenge? Where's the enigma? Where's the feeling that he's winning over somebody genuinely special? But there's something that I want you to understand: most older women fall into the trap of extreme seriousness. They believe that for them to be appreciated, they have to always be rational and in control. And in the process, they totally mask their sensual and playful side. Let me tell you about Laura, a 52-year-old woman who had developed an immensely serious personality after her divorce. She believed that for her to be respected professionally and as a single mother, she needed to portray an image of full control. When she met Steve, a 37-year-old guy, she maintained that same seriousness in all their interactions. The first dates were nice yet cold. Laura talked about essential matters, gave intelligent opinions, and portrayed herself as a responsible and mature lady. But Steve felt like he was in a business meeting, not on a romantic date. There was no laughing, no spontaneity, no spark that makes two individuals feel alive together. And here comes something I find important: the game of forced indifference. Certain women believe they have to pretend not to care, behave as if he doesn't matter, and create artificial emotional distance to avoid seeming desperate. This is a big mistake, since when you fake anything, it always shows. And what he perceives is not enigma or independence, but coldness. Real maturity lies in being able to show sincere interest without falling into desperation, in being able to express emotions without manipulation, and in being sincere without being overwhelming. When an older woman appears to be indifferent, she undermines one of her greatest strengths, her capacity to connect emotionally in a profound, genuine way. Young men, who are usually used to superficial interaction with women their own age, find this emotional depth tremendously attractive when it's real. Now let me tell you the root cause of all these mistakes, because once you comprehend this, every other thing will make sense. Many older women approach these circumstances thinking that their age is a disadvantage they have to compensate for. This concept pushes them to act in ways that reveal their real nature. They become desperate to prove they are worthy, controlling out of fear of losing his interest, because they think they must be thankful for the attention they get. But here is the reality that changes everything: your age is not a disadvantage. It's something different, and differences can be extremely appealing when you accept them rather than fighting against them. A younger man who is truly attracted to an older woman isn't looking for her to compensate for anything, he's looking for precisely what she is: a woman with knowledge, presence, and an outlook on life he doesn't yet have. Think of it from a different point of view: what can an older woman offer a younger guy that a woman his own age cannot? First, a life viewpoint that only comes with expertise. Second, emotional security that develops with time. Third, a freedom to be herself, something younger women, still in their journey of self-discovery, usually lack. But even more importantly, an older woman who has lived, who has experienced challenges, who has overcome difficulties and learned from her mistakes, shows an emotional dimension that may be immensely seductive. It's not many years on a calendar, it's about a life consciously lived. Let me tell you about Jessica, a 49-year-old lady who had gone through a traumatic divorce and raised 3 children on her own. When she met Ferdinand, a 35-year-old guy, she didn't try to hide her story. She didn't pretend to be somebody she was not. She simply shared her life as it was. She talked about the long nights raising her children, of the lessons she had learned about determination, and of how she rebuilt her life after the divorce. She did not do it to gain sympathy, it was just a natural part of expressing who she was. And Ferdinand was fascinated. Not by the spectacular details, but by the courage and intelligence Jessica had developed. Because what a young guy looks for in an older woman is not a better version of what he already knows, it's something completely new. He looks for a person with genuine presence, a person who doesn't need external approval to feel valuable, a person who can stand in her own vitality without apologizing for it. Think of it like this: if you have to show that you are attractive, you lose your attraction. Real attraction develops when someone sees your value without you having to frequently point it out. And here is something wonderful I want you to understand: a lady who respects herself, who takes care of herself out of self-love and not desperation, who expresses herself without fear because she knows who she is, that woman is attractive, regardless of her age. Because she radiates a trait that cannot be faked: sincerity. That is the unique thing in the realm of modern relationships. Every individual is striving to be what they think other people want to see. But if someone meets a person who is exactly what they are, without apologies or false pretenses, it develops an immediate connection. Imagine you're at a social event and you meet a person who isn't trying to impress anybody, who isn't putting on a show, who isn't trying to be more or less than they are. They're just being truly themselves. How does that individual make you feel? Perhaps relaxed or truly curious. Do you know the biggest irony in all of this? The women who are most successful with younger guys are the ones who try the least. They are so preoccupied living their own lives fully that they naturally become appealing to all kinds of men, even younger ones. They're not trying to fill what they're missing, they're sharing from a position of fullness. They're not trying to fill a void, they're providing from abundance. And that difference is immediately felt. When an older woman is in her own vitality, when she has made peace with her past, and when she's happy about her present and positive about her future, the vibe is contagious. Young guys, usually full of uncertainties and concerns about their own lives, are naturally attracted to that sense of certainty. But let me be clear about something: this doesn't imply you should become a mentor or a spiritual advisor. It implies your presence itself is motivating, not because you're trying to motivate, but because you're living a motivated life. When you know that your age is an attribute, not a problem, when you no longer consider your experience as a burden and begin to see it as something that sets you apart, when you know you don't need to compete and instead offer something unique, that's when everything shifts. Because the reality is, you have something a 21-year-old doesn't: you have insight about what you want and what you don't. You have the emotional security that comes from having encountered and overcome difficulties. You have the tranquility of a person who no longer has to prove anything to anybody. Think of it this way: a young lady may be attractive and intelligent, but can she give the depth of a person who has really lived? Can she give the emotional stability of someone who has learned how to handle life's storms? Can she give the freedom of a person who is no longer trying to find herself?